What's up, everyone? My name is Aries, and lately I've been playing Phantasy Star Online 2 for PC, and today I'm going to go over my first impressions of the game. Now, this is a massive game, so it's going to take me time to do a true and proper review, so today we're going to cover just some of the pros and cons and my quick opinions of the game. I've logged somewhere around 30 hours in this title so far, and I believe there to be hundreds of hours to go. Okay, so sit back, relax, and I'm going to let you know whether we need to autosave your wallet from this purchase. Let's get started. Okay, Phantasy Star Online 2, or PSO2 for short. This is a game that released all the way back in July of 2012 in Japan, and it hasn't seen its first initial release stateside until April of this year on Xbox One. Well, the good news for all you PC gamers out there is just this week it finally came to the Microsoft Store on PC, and you can finally get your hands on it. Now, to say that the launch was completely smooth is untrue. It had a ton of hiccups. I do strongly believe that Sega wasn't expecting the volume of players that we ended up seeing, but at the end of the day, what's the facts? I have played almost every large-scale MMORPG out there for years, and not a single one that I can remember has had a completely smooth launch. Even most non-MMO titles have had crappy server launches in the past. That being said, I know this did annoy a bunch of people, and some of the hiccups are still felt today, almost a week later, but they are working to address it, and I do have faith that as the community starts to fluctuate out and level off, that these problems will be non-consistent anymore. Okay, before I get into my pros and cons of this game, because I have only had about 30 to 40 hours with it so far, I'm going to tell you, in my first 30 to 40 hours, I absolutely love this game. It makes me reminisce. I used to play Phantasy Star Universe back on the Xbox 360 with some friends of mine that I still have nowadays, and we loved that game. I sunk hundreds of hours into it, and I intend to do the same thing with this game. That being said, if you do find my information to be a little biased, I am going to start with my cons, just so I can show that I am trying to look at this from an unbiased lens. So with all that being said, let's get into some of the cons. First and foremost, I know everybody's heard the saying, death by PowerPoint. Well, in PSO2, I'm calling it death by menus. There appears to be 100,000 menus in order to access certain basic information, and I feel like a lot of this could have been condensed down into simple and easy to understand menu system. There is menus for everything. There's a separate menu for mail, and for your friends list, and for your guild list, and for your everything. Everything has a separate subset menu and sub-menu to that sub-menu. I swear, sometimes I don't even remember what I'm looking for by the time I get to where I needed to be. Next up, the game has a large learning curve. Okay? I can jump into most MMOs, and after a short bit of time kind of feel the general aesthetic of what's going on. PSO2 is completely blinded. There's 1,000 quests they seem to throw at you from the beginning. You're not really sure which ones to do, which ones are beneficial. You're not sure even where to find every quest. It's a lot of information and a lot of stats and a lot of things of what to do thrown at you all in the beginning. Over time, it does become easier, and I do suggest that you look up guides like I've had to do for some things, as well as if you have some stuff you're stuck on, please let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to try to answer those questions. But again, the learning curve for it is high, and I do suggest that you take some time to do some guide lookups on how to do some options of the game. Okay, one of the big things right now that's frustrating me the most, and again, it's due to the server launches, is how sluggish all the lobbies are. I go to run from the store port to the main counter, and it's just so slow and so laggy, and it's just frustrating. I understand that Sega has tried to add additional blocks. Blocks are like chunks of a server, so that the overcrowding kind of swells down, but at peak times, and especially during the first few days of launch, it was unbearable. Trying to group up with 3 of my friends was near impossible, as 2 of us would get stuck in one block, and the other 2 would get separated in 2 other blocks, and in order to party up and play any missions together, you have to be in the same block. Or at least that's how it appears. We can't figure out if there's another way to join your party from a separate block. Because again, there's not really clear and decisive menu options to let you know that that's what you're able to do. So As we figure that out later, maybe I'll be able to update that part. I do think the sluggish lobbies and the slow server connections will fade again over time once they kind of ramp down a little bit. But hopefully they implement some kind of fix to that sooner than later, because it is frustrating, especially when I'm just trying to get missions done and there's hundreds to do. The last con that I have is, though the game is free, some options being hidden behind a subscription or a paywall is frustrating. Like the ability to be able to trade with your friends or sell things on your own personal store. I could see maybe not being able to sell things on your own personal store, but why I can't trade my buddy a gun that I found is beyond me. Now, it could be for some reasons because they want to avoid things like gold farming and some other issues that have plagued MMOs, but I still find it really frustrating because not only once I subscribe am I not able to trade with my friend, but both people that are trading have to be able to be subscribed. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like in an MMO or in any RPG, I feel like trading should be a bare bones necessity, not locked behind a paywall. But again, Sega's reasonings behind it might be just to prevent some kind of theft or criminal activity. And if that's the case, I guess I understand. It is just frustrating. Okay, now that I've gotten some of the cons out of the way, I do want to touch on the pros of this title. Okay, first up and right off the bat, the game is 100% completely free. There are paid elements, they are optional, and as we touched on in the cons, some of them might appear to be more necessary than others, but at the bare bones, you can spend hundreds of hours playing this game absolutely free without the need to ever pull out your credit card just for the enjoyment. There is nothing that is absolutely mandatory that you purchase in order to enjoy this title. It's just some things are quality of life that makes your life a little bit better while you are playing. But again, not required. Next up, there is a large quest location variety and enemy type variety. Now granted, most of the quests wind up being run through here, kill this, save this person, do this little task, collect this item. But I'm telling you, I never felt like I faced off with the same enemies twice unless I purposely ran the same zone again. Okay, I believe there's something like 16 or 20 zones, and all the enemies in that zone feel unique. And once you do start leveling up to harder difficulties, the enemies feel that increase in difficulty. They take more shots, they have more health, they do a lot more damage. Some of them I noticed have additional moves. So the variety in both quest location and enemy variety is insane, and a welcome addition to a game like this. You're not just killing 1,000 boars of different shades and colors throughout your journey. Next up, my favorite part, tons of sweet, sweet loot. There is loot galore. Customization options, haircuts, weapons, room decorations, you name it, there is tons of loot in this game. If you enjoy constantly picking up things, even if it's garbage, this is the game for you. There is a loot explosion every time you kill a boss type monster. There's a red crystal that drops, and he explodes loot like it's frickin' Christmas morning. I love it. The next thing up is I do love a good detailed character customization, and this is on par, if not better, than most of the character customization options out there in the industry. It took me a good while to make my character, and I've only been continuing to customize it from there because they have a salon you can go to constantly edit those options. Some for paid money, and by paid money is there's 4 different currencies in the game. This one's not actually something you really would buy, but you can buy it in order to customize some things. But really those options come down to like changing your actual skin color and eye color. Some of the things that like once you make, you should be really happy with from the get-go. But changing things like clothes and hairstyles and everything else is completely free to do at any time, pending you have those options to change. Okay, next up is all of the fun social aspects to this game. They have a real life casino, and let me tell you, I have already sunk hours into it. I do enjoy a bit of gambling in real life, and this game brings some of that aspects home for me. Okay, you can sit there and play slot machines, blackjack, or a version of roulette. It's wonderful. And there's rewards for it. As you build up coins over time, there's a cool little shop with all kinds of customization options and different vanity things and some actual practical things as well. It's really fun, and I suggest that if you play this game, sink some hours into the casino. What does it matter? Every day you log in, you get a casino token, which gives you anywhere from 100 to 500 casino coins. So it's not like even if you have a day where you lose all your casino coins, over time you can build that back up, and it's not a huge issue. This is a currency you can't buy, it's not paid for. You have no way of buying this with real money, so just enjoy it. Next up, the big build diversity in this game. There are tons of builds. I think there's some odd 12 or 15 classes, and then you pick a subclass. Now what's interesting is when you pick a subclass, you get 20 or 30% of the stats from that class. So for instance, if you're playing a ranger class, which is a traditional ranger, it uses like machine guns and rocket launchers, you can do a subclass of a magic user and then be able to add spells that you normally would not be able to cast on your bar and use them. Now they're not going to be as strong because most of your stats for your primary are coming from ranger, but it does make some interesting, unique hybrid builds, and you can mess around with it indefinitely. Now, one thing I will be warning you is if you do spec into the skill tree, in order to unspec or respec those trees, it does cost real money. So do be careful of that. Look up a guide, look up a build, and try to be educated on what you're doing before you place those points. Now, from what I've heard, every build is viable. Even if you completely screw up, you can do 100% of the content in this game. But since I have not gotten to the very, very late end game yet, I don't want to make those promises. But from other people in the community that I've heard, all builds are really viable. It's just about min-maxing at the end of the day. But still, err on the side of caution. Try not to mess up. Look up a build guide or do some research before you place those points. And the last thing is, and I've kind of sprinkled this in through both the pros and cons, there is easily months of playability. It has been a long time since I have found an MMO that I'm actually willing to consider spending months of my time playing. Most of the time, the cheap thrills and stuff wears out, and I don't think that's going to be the case here, because you can constantly level up your classes. Every character you make can change to every class in the game, and there's no penalty for it. So you can constantly switch. You can, if you get bored as a ranger, you can start playing as a magic user, and it doesn't matter. The only difference is you start that class over from level 1. But if you want to go back to doing high-level content with your friends, just switch over to your ranger class, and you can go right back into the action on the same character. So see, your classes level up separate from your actual character. Your character doesn't level up at all, just the classes that character uses. So the ability to switch back and forth is awesome. And I really think that this game has months, if not years, of playability. And at a time that we're all stuck at home with not much else to do other than honey-do lists and projects that we really don't want to do, this is a great time to sink your teeth into a game that is both free and will give you the longevity to play. Alright, so those were my initial thoughts of PSO2. Now to answer the question, today there is no auto-saving of your wallet required. This is a wonderful title with tons of content. And to top it all off, it's 100% free on PC and Xbox One. And during these uncertain times, nothing is better than free, especially when you get quality content and a free price tag. So we don't need to autosave your wallet. This is a great game. I do find some of the microtransactions to be a little frustrating, but they again are just quality of life things. Okay, now before I leave you today, if you would please, hit the little subscribe button right down there at the bottom, ring the bell notification to be alerted when I post future content. In May, we had a goal of hitting 100 subscribers, and we crushed it, just barely at the end of the month. Now, for the month of June, we're going to try to double that number and see if we can get to 200 subscribers. I do want to thank all of you brand new subs and the people that are liking and following my content. Do check me out over on facebook.com/autosavearies, where I post more frequently, and you can message me directly if you have questions or tips that you need. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for watching. I try to put a lot of work into this content for you guys, and I do hope it pays off. If you've made it to this part in the video, if you would leave a comment down below, letting me know what kind of PSO2 videos you want me to make. Or, for that matter, other videos on other games. You let me know, and I'll try to accomplish it. But, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time with Autosave Aries. Bye!